Well, this is live, Steve. You just came in under the wire. We are live and direct. Hey, wasn't Marianne going to come up and at least say hi?
She didn't say that.
She said she wanted to at least make an appearance and wave to the audience.
Well, I could get her. Is now a good time?
Yeah, why not? Before we get started, I'll start with roll call. Maybe you can get her to come up and say hey.
To your place?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the professor is here tonight. We're going to do a recording on Tuesday that will play next Sunday or on Thursday's show. There won't be a live show next week. I'll be talking about it in this show, but there will not be a live show next week because I'm going on vacation again. And Thursday is when I'm going to push the show out. So I'm not going to do a live show. I didn't do the app. Sorry, Dan. Sorry about that, Dan. I was late. I forgot to turn the app on. I turned on the video, but not the app, audio, and Alpha Geek Radio. I wonder whether Steve has done Alpha Geek Radio. We'll find out when he gets back. All righty. It was itches. So you guys remember Sybil? I don't know if you're listening back then, but Marianne is a professor at, let's see. Oh, yes, we are live in Alpha Geek Radio. Yay! She's a professor at the University of New Zealand, Victoria University in Wellington. That's what it's called. And she's a professor of psychology, and she is going to be on the show. And look, she's actually here. Say hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Wait, you have to be seen. There you go.
How are you?
What are you drinking?
Some crap.
Some crap. Oh, you can't pull it out. You have to undo
it.
Hey,
that's not crap.
Ballast Point. What is
Ballast
it?
Point.
No,
Mango Even Keel.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a Bud Light Platinum.
What is that? Even beer? Oh no, isn't it called America now? America Platinum.
It's called America Platinum. That's right. All right.
Cheers, everyone.
All right.
Cheers.
See you later. Have a lovely telecon.
Yeah.
All right. I've got an interview at Ballast Point. Oh, you haven't gotten your interview yet, huh, Kevin? That would be fun. You like my logo on my shirt, huh? Yeah, this is the Maui Brewing Company. I thought it was very pretty. I liked it. Got the live show on my new 58-inch Vizio TV today. Oh, big. I'm huge on his TV. Uh-oh, you added the Hangout toolbox, Steve. What are you doing?
Yeah, I just like the Hangout toolbox.
All right. But yeah, so she will be on the show next week. Let me do a little test recording here. Make sure you guys can hear me in playback. So tell me if you hear me twice. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. All right, that was live. Here's playback. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com.
Playback sounds good.
All right. Kids laugh when they see Miss Allison on TV. Yeah, sadly, everybody laughs at that. Playback is fine. Dan can hear it. We're good to go. All right, let's go ahead and go. I think some of this, I figure out what I did with the recording, but I think there's a recording already. Yeah, well, we'll find it when we get there. Falling into a couch potato. Nice. All right, wait, one last sip of beer. Here we go. Apparently, here we don't go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Macintosh bias. Today is Sunday, May 29th, 2016, and this is show number 577. Well, before we get too far into the show, I want to make sure I tell you about my upcoming schedule. I'm going off on vacation again because, retirement is way too stressful. Anyway, this time I'm going for a week in Palm Springs with Steve's family. Now, you would think going on a vacation with 22 of your husband's family members for a vacation would be a bad thing. It's actually spectacular. We get along really, really well. We've done this maybe 5 or 6 times now, 6 or 7 times. Anyway, it's always a great time. And so we're really looking forward to that. But I decided that I'd really abused Alistair and Bart enough when I went to Hawaii earlier this year. So I'm going to make this work by myself this time, and we are still not going to miss a show. We're not going to miss a chit-chat, and we are not going to miss a NosillaCast. So the way this is going to work is next week's show will come out early on Thursday, June 2nd. That means there will not be a live show on Sunday, June 5th. The following week, I'll be in town for a couple of days before Sunday, so we'll be back to our regularly scheduled program. It's going to be a bit of a pull to get the shows out with only a couple of days prep time on each one, but I'm up for the challenge, and I've got a few things up my sleeve to make it happen. Anyway, this week on Chit Chat Across the Pond, Bart was back with lesson 15 of Programming by Stealth, where we get into JavaScript functions. It was fun, but a little bit hard on Allison's old noggin as the propeller beanie got her really, really tight. Bart kept at it, though, until we got the concepts in. Hope you're enjoying that series as much as I am. And remember, you need to subscribe separately to Chit Chat Across the Pond to get those feeds. Unless, of course, you just go to the show notes and podfeed.com, hit play. You can do that, too. All righty, let's see where that started. I'll line that up. Let's see. Let me hear that. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast. It's NC 13548. Hello, everybody. So who's that?
I think it's Denise.
Oh, it's Denise. Oh, Denise, tell your husband that I'm drinking a Bud Light Platinum.
He'll love that.
So if you don't think it's too creepy, I was going to follow you on Facebook because I wanted to send you a note. I don't remember if I figured out a way to do it, Denise, but I need you to tell your husband that the worst part about me not knowing what beer I was drinking last week was that my son-in-law is the director of product operations at Ballast Point. And my problem, I know I'm drinking a Ballast Point beer. I just can't remember the name. I always want to say Even Keel, but it's actually a Longfin Lager. So that was part of it. The other thing we need to tell your husband is that that crazy barmy stuff he likes is now being bottled. They just had their first bottles off the line. Denise's husband likes beers that are in the very high percentages. Barmy is 12% alcohol. So as my daughter explained it to me, that's essentially like drinking wine, except you're drinking 12 ounces of it. So, oh, all right. Denise is drinking a Miller Lite. Yay, my people. Okay. Steve, you're laughing. Did you want to add anything in there?
Sorry about that. I laugh just spontaneously sometimes. I'm actually listening to the delayed feed.
Oh, you are?
As well. That's when I laugh sometimes.
Oh, okay, great.
I'll turn that off.
Where did I put... So I've pre-recorded the Google two-factor authentication thing. No, what did I pre-record? I pre-recorded something and I made myself a note that I pre-recorded. I put it in reminders and now it's gone from reminders. So I don't know where it went. Oh, there it is. Let me listen, make sure that I think that's Google. Let's see, this is Google. Okay, good. So that does go now. So I turned on Google two-factor authentication this week, and it was horrible. I ended up having the short version of what I've pre-recorded was that I had to enter my password and a two-factor authentication code 27 times in one day. Now, to be fair, a normal person would need to do it that many times, but it was a pretty big pain. I think I'll let you listen to a little bit of this. Let me think about how much we have to get done. We got that. We got that. Yeah, I'll let you listen a little bit of this. We'll have some fun here and listen. Feed.com, hit play. You can do that too. Okay, too long. Whoops. Don't want to do that. Okay, how about this? We'll just get rid of a little bit of that. I can't remember if it's command space or not. Okay, feed.com, hit play. You can do that too. A couple of weeks ago on Chit Chat Across the Pond, Bart worked me over yet again that I should do two-factor authentication on my email accounts. I whined a lot, as I'm sure you heard. Some of you were thinking, oh, Allison, quit your whining. It's not that hard, and it's totally worth it because you're protecting the crown jewels. On the other hand, there were those of you who were saying, sounds really hard to me too. When we were talking about it, I compared it to how things were in the old days when the subject was doing backups. We all knew it was smart to do backups, but it was a nightmare to do it in an automated way. until it got so easy, all you did was plug in a hard drive. Many of us procrastinated on doing what we knew was right to do for a very long time. Actually, I'm going to do something here. I'm going to a little bit of a preamble.
But you're not going off script, I hope.
I am going off script.
Oh, no. Here we go.
It's going to be fine. What could possibly go wrong?
Oh, we've seen it before.
I'm going to tell you 2 stories about two-factor authentication this week, and I want you to wait until you hear both of them before you decide whether I'm crazy or stupid or... No, I don't like that. Never mind. Stop. Let me think. No, that's not going to work. I have to go back to what I was doing. Okay, go back. There. 2. A couple of weeks. Okay. Shouldn't go off script. Where was I? Maybe about here. Why does it do that? Okay, I've decided I want a new program for recording. I'll spend money. What should I use? The same thing happened with passwords. We knew we should use good ones, but it was too hard to remember them. We waited until LastPass and 1Password came along and made it easy enough that we realized it was simpler to use a password manager than to do it ourselves. Only then did we become more secure. But I trust Bart, and I trust everyone else who's been telling me it's easy to do two-factor authentication now. I've been assured that it's not that bad. For anyone who hasn't passed through these gates before, let's explain how two-factor authentication works. For the sake of argument, we'll talk about our email addresses, like Gmail and Apple Mail. Today, we log into those services with our email addresses and a password. Because we're brilliant, we use password managers like 1Password and LastPass, and we've chosen long, complex passwords. Of course we have. Well, two-factor authentication adds one more step. The first time you authenticate to a service from a new device, you have to have your username and password, but also a token to prove you're you. The token is a one-time code. In this example I'm going to give, it was a 6-digit code. Now, how do you get that code? During the process of turning on two-factor authentication, you'll be presented with some options on how the code will be sent to you. You can have a text message sent to you, or you can use an authentication program like Authy, which Joe LaGreca reviewed for us on NosillaCast number 566, or you can use the built-in capabilities in 1Password to generate what they call one-time passwords. The reason this isn't as painful as it sounds is because you only do it once when you set up a new device, or so everyone promised me. I thought long and hard about whether to write up my experiences with two-factor authentication here because I do believe it's the right thing to do. But if you haven't done it yet, you'll never do it after listening to me. I'd like to think of this as, instead of a public service announcement, I think this is a public disservice announcement I'm about to do. Bart says that because I have so many devices, I'm not normal, so I shouldn't judge two-factor authentication based on my personal experiences. I think that's a fair argument. I'll explain the process instead in incremental steps so you can see how I'm popping my P's quite a bit in that recording. I'm going to stay off axis. You're not an expert.
Allison, I think you're already off axis.
Nice. Thank you. Okay, so I've got to go get the Max Sparky post next. That's what I'll do. I'll say it now. That's what I'll do. I'll do that now. Yep, I bet that'll work. That's the next show on the Podfeet Network. All right, cool. Let me actually make a note because I don't know. I think I've figured out how to get.
You're going to change the name of the show to.
No, I'm going to check out Twisted Wave that Kevin suggested. Just because, I mean, I've gotten Amadeus Pro to do what I want, but it's just clumsy. It just, I don't know. It just doesn't. It's not smooth. Drive out my buff my truck and then teach me Twisted Wave. There you go. All right. Okay. Reviews of different liquors. Hey, why not? All right. Well, we're going to kind of cleanse our palate a little bit after talking about how annoying it was to do two-factor authentication with Google. But after this next bit, I'm going to tell you, I'm actually going to come back and tell you about my experience using Apple's two-factor authentication. Once I got rolling with doing it with Google, I figured I might as well keep going. But I want to tell you about something else really, really fun. Pop quiz, though. Would you rather go to the dentist, say for a root canal, or scan in that giant pile of papers you have next to your desk? I know that's a tough question, right? That's kind of, that's about touch and go. Which one's worse? But I know that you probably bought that fancy pants scanner everyone was talking about a few years ago, and you committed to going paperless just like everybody else. You probably even bought some storage to file that away all those bills. You bought a Drobo, you bought, some kind of storage to make sure you'd have a place for all those files, but you still really dread the actual job of scanning. Am I right? Each time you finally go through them all and get it done, you swear to yourself that this time you're going to keep on top of it. This time you're going to do it once a week. This time you won't let it stack up. And then 3 months later, there's that giant stack again. Well, David Sparks, also known as Mac Sparky, co-host of the Mac Power Users podcast, and a good friend of mine, has been blathering on for years about how he uses Hazel to automate scanning in his documents. I've always meant to go watch some of his videos and, read some of his tutorials to figure out how he does it and what's so cool about Hazel. But I figure I'd never find the part about where to get started, because by the time I thought of it, he had already been talking about for so long. I was kind of afraid I'd go to his site and it would be like starting in an upper division calculus class when you forgot to take Algebra 1. I even went as far as to buy Hazel, and I did figure out how to do a couple of cool things with it, but I still had this 4-inch stack of papers to scan sitting on my filing cabinet right next to me. Well, this week, David published a Hazel video field guide, and he sent me a review copy. This is 2.5 hours worth of screencasts that starts with the very first tiny little baby steps of using Hazel. Once he gets your feet wet, he adds more and more complexity a little bit at a time, but he does it in a way that's memorable and clear. He hits the main objective pretty quickly, and that's how to have Hazel automatically rename your files and put them away in your folders without you lifting a finger, other than gently guiding the documents into your scanner. Each lesson is relatively short, starts with a problem to be solved, and then gives step-by-step examples of how to solve the problem. I really should have patented that problem to be solved idea, because he uses it quite a bit in this. I probably should explain a little bit about what Hazel actually is and how it works. Hazel is a system preference pane for the Mac that allows you to automate processes that involve files and folders. Hazel 4 costs $32 from noodlesoft.com, and they have a family pack license model and generous upgrade pricing as well. The $32 is for a single user. Well, it turned out that upgrade pricing turned out to be a really good thing for me, because I bought Hazel when it was version 3 and I'd never exercised it, and it was only $10 to get the upgrade. In the Hazel preference pane, you first define a folder that you want Hazel to watch, then you create rules on what you want Hazel to do. In the Hazel video field guide, David shows off one of the powerful new features of Hazel 4, which is the ability to recognize dates inside a PDF. If you scan your documents using an app that applies optical character recognition, or OCR, Hazel will find the date, define a variable using that date, and then rename the document using that date. So let's say instead of scan001.pdf, Hazel will rename it to 2016-05-10 gasbill.pdf. David goes on to show you how to then have Hazel move the file into your gas bill folder. David builds the rules up one step at a time. He shows you how to test the rules, how to diagnose when they go wonky because you made a mistake. If you haven't ever listened to David before, you'll find that he's clear and concise, but also throws in regular doses of silliness to keep you entertained. I watched the first hour of David's video field guide on Hazel at the gym one day this week, and I was so excited I came home and I grabbed that giant stack of paper and I got to work making rules. David's instructions were so clear, and Hazel is such a good tool, that I was able to build them without ever referring back to the video. I can't say I got every rule right the first time, but it was so much fun figuring each one out, and David had explained how to diagnose them, so I didn't have to go back and rewatch what he had showed me. I spent about 4 hours working on this, 3 to 6 months worth of papers, but it was 3.5 hours of writing rules and learning, and only about a half hour of scanning. The next time there's a bill waiting to be scanned, all I have to do is stick it in the scanner and watch it magically get renamed and sent off to the folder on my Drobo. I have to say, the tedious part about scanning is going in and naming the files and then moving them into all these ridiculous folders that I have. And I got to tell you, after I wrote up the review and I posted this blog post about this, two bills came in, or two things that I wanted to have scanned. And I was like, yay. And I ran and I got the scanner and shoved them in and watched them just go whoosh to where they should be. I got to tell you, though, David doesn't stop at just renaming and filing scanned documents. He shows you how to get Hazel to tell you that you have overdue bills. He sets up Automator scripts that are called by Hazel to set up a new folder structure using Automator. He tells you how to have Hazel pull in receipts from your iPhone to be sent to your accountant. He tells you how to send music to iTunes and images to photos. He tells you how to have Hazel keep your desktop neat and tidy. He even shows how to create files that are automatically destroyed after a certain amount of time, using the example of, say, sensitive documents sitting in your Dropbox for too long. He does some silly stuff too, like he has a rule that goes through if this then that allows, let's see what happens. His iMac plays music when he walks into his house, and it's using the location services on his phone, an IFTTT recipe that he does with Hazel. It gets a little bit silly, but it helps you exercise the power that's in Hazel, and only David could deliver it this way. The content is great in David's field guide, and it made me a believer in Hazel. When I first downloaded David's video field guide, it came into my Dropbox on my iPad, and I have to say, viewing a video from inside Dropbox, it doesn't really give you access to the chapters. With a video that's over 2 hours long with tons of discrete chapters, that's kind of a problem. If you download the video field guide to your Mac first and import using iTunes to your iPad through a cable, like an animal, you can get to the chapters. If you just want to view it on the Mac, QuickTime sees the chapters just fine. Makes it super easy to jump to a section you want to go over a second time. But like I said, I didn't really have to because his instructions were so clear and understandable. I do not think there's an easier or more pleasant way to learn to use Hazel than to let David Sparks spoon feed it to you. The Hazel Video Field Guide is available over at macsparky.com/Hazel. And of course, there's a link in the show notes where you can buy it for $20. After you learn all of his tricks with Hazel, you'll like scanning way better than going to the dentist. There we go. And I recorded that on the wrong track, but that's okay because I can copy it and I can paste it where it belonged. Right there, I hope. And for some reason that track is on. I don't know why I have that so low. All righty. Did I miss anything fun, Steve? What are we talking about?
Sandy was asking about the scanner you're using, and I can't recall the model numbers of the scan snaps.
So there's two of them, and I can show you. This is the ScanSnap IX100, and I'm wild about this one because this is the whole thing. It's like the size of a paper punch, if you remember paper, and it's USB. So you just pop, I'm sorry, it's not Bluetooth. I thought it was Bluetooth. It actually does its own little Wi-Fi network. You pop that open, and it's got the scanner button ready. And if you flip it up, now it'll run paper. It'll come it's straight out the top. You feed it in the front, and it comes out the top. That one's pretty good. This one happens to have stopped working for some reason. It's not being recognized by my Mac, and I haven't figured that out. So that's really good for business cards and quick jobs, like you just got one or two pieces of paper. That's the IX100. This happens to be, let's see, what is the model number? The IX1300. This one does a whole bunch of sheets of paper at the same time. It's got a little sheet feeder up here, so you can stack like 10 sheets of paper, a whole bunch, and it'll slide into the scanner and spit out the front. You can see that's just come up, and ScanSnap Manager from, who makes these? All of a sudden I'm drawing a blank on the name. Fujitsu made some. The software just launched itself when I did that, when I opened it up. So this one is big and heavy and has to be plugged into power, but you can do a whole bunch of sheets of paper. And this one is small and light. And if you get into using Hazel, I think that the little one would be fine because you'd just be going, yay, a paper came in, boom, you're done. And you don't mind feeding them. But when you've got the giant 6-month stack, then you wish you had the big one. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, I think that helps.
Okay.
I think a couple people, Sandy, may be a little put off by the fact that it's not working, but I think there's something not related to the scanner. We should check the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't blame it. I used it it's been a couple of years. I've been using it all the time. And, we've got a pretty weird Wi-Fi networking going on right now. It's kind of strange. The ScanSnap software has to recognize that the device is attached. So like I explained, I opened up the IS 1300 and the software went, oh, hi, there you are. I'm ready to accept stuff from you. And it's not doing that when I open up the IX 100, and I don't know why. Like Steve said, I don't know that I would blame it yet, or I just don't know what's going wrong.
Does it set up its own Wi-Fi local network like those Internet of Things devices, or the Wemo, the Ring doorbell, all those? I don't remember setting it up that way.
It doesn't. Hang on, I just realized I hadn't been saving this, so I want to save. It doesn't. I looked for a Wi-Fi signal from it, and I don't see it, and I never did that kind of a song and dance. But and I found that thing about it doing Wi-Fi on a site that wasn't a Fujitsu site, so I'm not 100% sure about that. We were wondering, Steve had a good point, was maybe it's getting interfered with by my USB 3 hub, so I got to do some more experiments before I declare something happened to it.
But for, 2 years, it was working solidly, right?
Yeah, it's been working for a long time, and it's fabulous for business cards. And the ScanSnap software comes with a thing called Card Binder, which I like I get business cards that I want to save, but I don't actually care about the people later. It's like, okay, I just want to remember I got all those cards at CES, because I'll remember, hey, who was that guy we talked to at CES, and I can get back to him. So it makes a little database that I don't have to keep. I don't mix those people's names all into my regular life. The ScanSnap software also does the optical character recognition, which is pretty good. So, all right. This week in scanners. Let me hear where this intersection sounded. Is death by 1,000 paper cuts. Well, we're way too long. Okay, we'll get rid of some of you. Move that over. See how that by 1,000 paper cuts. Well, we're going to kind of cleanse our. So the bottom line of the Google one was that it was horrible. Wouldn't you say, Steve?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The Google the Google two-factor authentication was pretty nightmare-y.
Oh, yeah, that was over the top. I mean, I'm surprised you're still going with it.
Well, it stopped. I mean, mostly.
Yeah, until I have to use it.
Well, I think it's okay. We hope so. Wait, who are we trying to get rid of? We're trying to get rid of some NosillaCast? Network printing on a Mac is a nightmare. Printing is a nightmare. I don't believe in printing. We tried to print once last week. My printer said it had black ink, but I think it was lying. Steve's printer got jammed, and then Kyle's printer, I don't know what's wrong with it, but Steve has it disassembled on the dining room table, so that's a nice feature.
It may or may not come back to life. We shall see.
All right. I want to go play with it. You should be the only one who gets to tear it apart. All right, here we go. After my somewhat painful and very tedious experience with two-factor authentication on Google, I wasn't sure I could face doing it on my Apple ID. Since I wrote that previous article, I've continued to add to the count of times I've had to do the two-factor authentication dance with Google, like say when my friend Diane wrote a blog post on her Tumblr account and I wanted to leave, I just wanted to leave a comment. Unfortunately, Tumblr required a Google login, which required me to get another two-factor authentication code. So I keep getting queried by Google. The paper cuts have slowed way down over the week, but this you only do it once per device thing is horse pucky, if you'll excuse my French. In spite of this, I decided to go ahead and try two-factor authentication on my Apple ID. I made this decision because somehow I actually got locked out of my Apple ID. I feared that my account was being targeted by the bad guys, but after it happened a second time, 2 days later, I decided to take to the Twitters to see if anyone else was being affected by this. Neil Bernstein jumped in and said it was happening to him too, so he started searching and found a few other folks with the same problem. I'm not sure who cracked the code amongst us. There were only 4 or 5 of us in this conversation, but it turned out to be the Easily Do email app for iOS I recommended just a few weeks ago. I wrote to the Easily Do folks, and they confirmed that Apple apparently had changed something last weekend, and as a result, their customers were getting locked out. I expressed sympathy for them and told them that I'd remove the app for now, but that I sure hope they'd get it fixed soon so I can get it back because I really adore that app. It's really wonderful. I have heard that they have a fix out, but I'm going to let the other guys go first on this one. So anyway, this got me thinking, if I'm going to have to keep changing my password, I might as well turn on two-factor authentication. I mean, I'm doing it anyway, might as well turn it on. But guess what? You can't set up two-factor authentication at Apple on your Apple ID for 3 days after changing your password. Well, it's a good thing I found out from Neil what was causing it, because I wasn't able to keep the same password for 3 days in a row because it kept getting locked out. Through the Apple ID process, I asked permission, and 3 days later, I was granted the ability to turn it on, and that was actually today as I'm recording. Well, it didn't happen as I was recording, today as I'm doing this. Anyway, I did a search on Apple two-factor authentication, and I found the Apple support article about it that tells you how to set it up. They claim in the article that you can find it via the iCloud Preferences Security tab, but that's actually a lie. It's not in there. I whined on Twitter, as one does, and George Starcher told me to hunt for the Apple ID page, which is at appleid.apple.com. I have to say that the experience was actually quite good, and compared to Google, relatively painless. Each step of the process was very clearly explained. After entering the answers to my security questions and adding a trusted phone number, a verification code was sent to my iPhone. Once that was done, I got a screen that made me very happy. It said, Verify Trusted Devices. From this screen, I was able to select every device from which I want to authenticate. Once, just like people told me it would happen. I did have to refresh the devices list to get them all to show up, but I tapped on an iPad, an iPhone, and an iPad. An iPad, an iPhone, and what was it? Must have been 2 iPads. It was 2 iPads and an iPhone. That's what it was. Because I know it was 3 devices, but I didn't do all my devices. Once I had tapped on each one of those one by one, a different code came up on each one that I could enter over on the Mac in the web interface. That's actually the way it's supposed to work, right? I authenticate once to each device, and I'm telling it, this device is now verified. After verifying a few devices, I was given a recovery key, explaining that it was critical that I print this out and save it in case I ever forget my password. Otherwise, I would lose access to everything. I, of course, did make a paper print, but I printed it to PDF, and I put it on my Drobo. I put a copy of my 1Password file, and I typed the recovery key into a 1Password entry. They don't let you copy and paste the code, which kind of irritated me at first because I was going to copy and paste it into 1Password, but it turns out it was a brilliant move, because on the next page, it basically says, prove you weren't stupid and really did keep a copy of your recovery key. Since you can't copy and paste it, you can't move forward until you prove that you wrote it down somewhere. Well, that was actually pretty smart. I took a deep breath. I wrote to Twitter and told Twitter to hold me because I was about to hit enable, and I hit enable two-factor or two-step verification, they call it. And then I thought, well, now what happens? I opened up the App Store on the Mac where I set up two-factor authentication, and it asked me to sign in, but it didn't ask for a code. Then I tried to buy something in the App Store, and it did ask for a code. Okay, pretty good. It showed me the 4 devices I had verified, and it said, which one did I want to send a code to? And the code showed up instantly on the chosen device. I mean, instantly. Like I opened up, I turned on the device, and it was already saying, hey, log into your device so I can give you this authorization code. I opened up iMessage, and again, I had to sign in. Screwed that line up. That's okay. I'm going to fix it while I'm right there. This is first. Okay, that looks good. Why does it do that? I opened up iMessage. Let's see, because that is not the right thing. There we go. Save. Oh, thank you. Lather, rinse, repeat. The stuff she already said feels like Groundhog Day. Yeah. Let's see, where was I? Okay, so far so good. On that Mac, I opened up iMessage, and again, it said I had to sign in. But again, I didn't have to supply a code. Now, remember, that Mac has been connecting to the web and setting all this up, but I never said to verify that Mac, right? That's a little bit interesting. So that Mac was a 12-inch MacBook, and that's where I did all the initial work. So I switched over to my MacBook Pro and I tried to download updates from the App Store, and there I did have to enter a code. Remember, it's not on the verified list. Worked really quickly, and it only happened once. Well, on the verified devices, I never had to enter a code to get my email or download updated apps or pretty much anything at all. I didn't have to authenticate to my Apple ID at all for messages. Not sure why I had to do that on the MacBook. That was kind of interesting. The MacBook and the MacBook Pro seemed to be acting somewhat differently. But it was cool that they were immediately and in all ways Apple authenticated with that initial code to verified devices. But then things started to be a little bit weird. I have an older iPad that I keep on hand for doing screencasting, and I did not add it to the verified devices list. I opened up Mail, and it popped up a message saying, your iCloud account needs to be updated. I dismissed the pop-up message. My Apple Mail came in just fine. I'm able to send and receive Apple Mail on a device that I did not apply two-factor authentication to. So I don't understand why that is. I found that very strange. I don't think it should be letting me do that. It's been hours and it's still working. Next, I tested our Apple TV 4, and that one went a little bit weird too. I went into the App Store, and just as I hoped, it asked me to verify my identity using one of my verified devices. Okay, cool. I picked my iPhone, but then the next screen said, sign in to verify your payment info. Please enter your Apple ID password and click OK. So it didn't give me a screen where I could type in a code, and it didn't tell me where to go enter my payment info. Was I supposed to do that on the Apple TV? Was I supposed to do that on the iPhone? And it never sent a code to the phone. So I got caught in this loop too, where I'd click OK and it would go back to the verify from another device screen. Finally, I gave up on that. I canceled. I went into settings on the Apple TV. I signed out of my account and back in, never being asked to verify my payment information in any way. And it never asked me to verify the device. I even went into the App Store and I bought an app, and I was never queried for a code. It's sort of like they're paying lip service to this two-factor authentication, but they didn't actually require it at all. So I did not authenticate with two-factor authentication on my Apple TV, and I was able to buy something with it. Okay. I tested 2 Apple TV 3s, and they never challenged me for a code, and I verified that I could play purchased movies. I wasn't a good enough of a team player to buy anything of those devices to see if it would query me for that. So maybe that would have triggered the code, but then again, it didn't on the Apple TV. Possibly the Apple TV 3s don't support two-factor authentication. I don't know why. My final test was to find out whether my having two-factor authentication on my devices would wreck those on my family plan. You remember what a nightmare it was for Steve when I did it on our Google account that we share. I knew my son-in-law really wanted this one game, but he was mad because he'd already paid for it on Lindsay's account. Actually, it was an in-app purchase. It turns out in-app purchases don't move between users, so he's mad because he didn't have it on his device. So I had Lindsay buy it on his account, which would still charge me, and it worked with no fuss at all. I was glad to know that I hadn't made their lives any harder. If they want to do two-factor authentication, it should be their choice whether they want to deal with it. When I did my initial setup, out of laziness, like I explained earlier, I only verified 3 devices beyond the MacBook. That gave me the opportunity to answer another question. Can I go back and add devices and trusted phone numbers? I logged into the Apple ID site, and this is from my unverified MacBook Pro. The MacBook Pro has never been verified in any way. Interestingly enough, it let me log in without a two-factor authentication code. So, okay. While I was in there, I was able to add another trusted phone number. I hadn't added my two-factor authentication code, and it let me add Steve's phone number. Then I tried to add my MacBook Pro to the verified devices, but it didn't show up in the list. They suggested that I verify that Find My Mac was turned on, and it turned out I somehow had gotten shut off somewhere along the line. So I'm over here in System Preferences, and I turned on Find My Mac on my MacBook Pro. I go back to the website, only to find out that they'd logged me out. Well, that was interesting. It was only a couple minutes. I tried to log back in, and now it asked me for a code. Isn't that interesting? It had been a couple of hours easy since I'd set up two-factor authentication, so maybe that delay was slow to propagate, to understand that it was there. I was able to get back in, but it turns out you can't add Macs as trusted devices. I'm not sure why that is. I don't see any Macs at all on that list. Maybe it only works with iOS devices. I don't know. Overall, I have to say that my first few hours with two-factor authentication of my Apple ID has been worlds easier than it was with my Google ID. I don't know why that is, though, because it's just not asking me for the code as often as it really should have. I wonder on the Google ID problem, I started thinking about it. Maybe it would have been slightly easier if I'd had Android devices. Perhaps the Google authentication does go to the entire device in that case, like it does for iOS devices with an Apple ID. So maybe it would be easier if you had Android. Bottom line, setting up two-factor authentication with an Apple ID was far fewer paper cuts than it was with Google, but it was also sloppy and not asking for my codes as often as it should have. So now, which one would you prefer? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Did you? I didn't quite hear everything. Pardon me, but
You don't pay attention. Steve says I talk more than he can listen.
That's all right. Did you talk about when we got on my Apple TV or Lindsay's Apple TV and it did query us as expected?
It didn't. It did not ask for a two-factor.
My Apple TV.
No, it didn't ask for two-factor.
Oh, neither one did.
Nope.
Oh.
It did on the Apple TV 4, but didn't send the code and didn't ever take the code. It simply came up with the screen that said, "Hey, send me a two-factor authentication code." But then it never sent me code, and it never gave me a place to type the code in.
Doesn't sound like that's working the way it should. At least the first time.
Yeah, the first time it should have, and it didn't. So it's way easier because it doesn't actually, and it let me add your phone number. That was the really scary part. It let me add your phone number using an untrusted device that had never entered the code.
You hadn't two-factored yet.
I had not yet two-factored when it let me add your phone number in. But then later went, oh crap, we let her in. We forgot to do the code. So it logged me out and made me put the code in. So that's interesting, don't you think? All right. We are now going to do...
So wait. Yeah. As you kind of back up and look at all of this, is the two-factor authentication thing worth it to you? It remains to be seen.
Well, I guess, this is one of those absence of something bad happening problems, right? My account's never been hacked before. And if it's never hacked in the future, it could be because I have two-factor authentication, or maybe it wouldn't have ever gotten hacked. You don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
you just feel more secure.
Well, I feel more secure on Google. I'm not sure I do on Apple.
Not on Apple, right?
Right? You think it uses GPS coordinates to determine whether code is needed? Well, but it needed codes to do things on other devices. And by the way, let's not forget my old iPad is still talking to my Apple ID without ever having had a code. I don't know. That doesn't seem quite right. All right, where do I keep my audio for security bits? NosillaCast audio, I think. No, where is it? I keep it somewhere. Oh, it's called GarageBand Jingles. That's what it's called. Where are they? There they are. All right, security bits, which goes with DJ Cold War. Oh, actually, no, we got to add a track. Add a track here, and we'll go there, right there. All right. Oh, let me check that intersection. Where did that one looks good. Oh, I guess I accidentally seamed that one up. Oh, well. There might be something wrong there. I can't tell. All right. Let's see. Where's that? Okay. And then let me find Bart. Security bits. NC audio security bits. Nope. Must be under chit chat. Security bits. There we go. Put you right there. The other thing about Amadeus Pro that's annoying is the more content you have, its default is to show you the entire timeline. So everything starts shrinking up. So you think things are nice and tight and close together, but it's because you have so much more content. So it's not visually the same in between two pieces. So Okay, so now I got to increase this to see what it's looking at. So here we go. All right. So we're going to go right there. Oh, yeah, you need to move up a bunch. Come here. Come here. Come on. All right, here we go. All right, let's hear how this sounds. Asking for my codes as often as it should have. So now, which one would you prefer? All right. Well, it's that time of the week again. It is time for too long. That's what Steve's saying. I don't even have to wait for him to tell me it was too long. Well, it's that time. Maybe a little bit faster. Nope. Doesn't matter either way. It doesn't pull. Okay. Well, it's that time of the week again. It is time for Security Bits with Bart Bouchatz. Nailed it.
With enough practice, eventually it sinks in.
Yeah, one would think. It'll probably go out of whack again next week. But looks like we got a lot of fun on the ticket today, huh? We even have some good news.
It's only 2 weeks worth, so it's not too bad.
All right, so that's the beginning. I gotta let you listen to the ending. So I'll let you guys decide whether we leave this in. Okay, I think this should be about pretty close to the ending. So listen to this, and Bart and I couldn't decide whether to leave this in or not. But listen, and I'm about to do it again.
Yay! Have fun.
All right, that's our aperitif for today.
Okay, well, until next time, stay safe and. What was I supposed to say? Oh, yeah. Until next time, stay safe and stay secure. That was wrong, wasn't it? Stay patched and stay secure.
You want to do it again?
So they were as bad as each other. You can't get the intro right. I can't get the outro right. This is terrible. Anyway,
but I can't find the recorder to stop it anyway. Hang on. What? Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay, here you go.
Until next time, stay patched and stay secure.
Okay, should I leave it in?
Did you leave that? Oh, you're deciding now. Okay.
Yeah. What do you think, Steve? I think it's
leave it in. I think it's funny.
Bart thought we should leave it in. We'll leave the audience to catch up.
With your terribly bad luck with two-factor auth, Sybil is thinking that a spell has been cast on you. So she's trying to make a soup, which is like a witch's brew to counteract the spell. And I asked her what the secret ingredient was to counteract the spell. It's meatballs.
Oh, okay. Meatball soup?
Meatballs, yes.
Okay.
Well, there's other things in it, but I think meatballs are the special part.
Oh, good. Albondiga. Bondiga. That sounds good. Do you have a good meatball recipe? All right. So I wonder if they've heard it yet. How long is that lag? Maybe they weren't listening. I like that beer. It's clear and cool and refreshing. All right. I haven't heard any dissenting votes, so I'm going to I think I'll leave it in.
Leave it in.
All right. Let's see. Where do I want to be? I want to be up here. Maybe right about there. Let's see. Where is this? And bring you up here. Waiting for Allison to talk again. Huh.
John had a sync problem between video and audio, and so he refreshed. Okay. He wanted you to talk so he could see the sync was back.
So nobody had an opinion, huh? They weren't listening, Steve. Come on, that was funny right there. You guys
never do else.
Is that annoying person still talking in the corner? All right. Excuse me. Here we go. Well, with that, we're going to wind things up for this week. Do not forget to send in your dumb questions, comments, and suggestions by emailing me at allison@podfeed.com. If you felt like doing an audio review this week, that would not hurt my feelings at all, since I have got to get 2 shows out when I'm on vacation. But if you don't, I can still pull it off. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Podfeet and check out the NosillaCast Google Plus community. Lots of fun over there at podfeet.com/Google Plus. Facebook group, also having a lot of fun at podfeet.com/Facebook. If you want to join in the fun of the live show, but not next week, the following week, head on over to podfeet.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways who do not listen to the show at all while we're talking. Anyway, thanks for listening and stay subscribed. called you guys on the carpet there. Okay. Let's see how that worked out.
Till next time, stay patched and stay secure.
Well, with that, we're going to wind things up. Wow, that was a lot louder, wasn't it? I'll pump that up.
Until next time, stay patched and stay secure.
Well, with that, why is that so loud all of a sudden? Wait, what's going on? Where are they? Oh, come on.
Don't tell me none of the show is recorded.
No, it's worse. I've got 2 of everything. I'm doubled.
Oh, you got 2 shows. That'll make up for the vacation then. Just put it in the second week.
No, that is really bizarre. I got to show you guys this. Dan, I wish you could see this to explain to me what's going on. But all of a sudden I have, I literally have 2 rows of everything I recorded. You see this? See how there's Allison and Allison twice?
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened, but it's doubled. So this is the entire audio track. So that's why it's so loud, is because it's there twice. Wow. Okay. Well, I think I can delete a track.
Go back to make sure other tracks have been.
No, you can see the whole track, the whole thing at the top.
It's just you then, not the other recordings.
Yeah, it's just my track that's doubled. So I think I can just do let me save once.
Yeah.
Before I do this. And I'm going to do delete track, actually, and just delete track and see what happens. Now that should be 1. Yeah, now it's back to 1. That is so
Check
weird.
the whole.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. So like there's the beginning. And this is the piece I got to move. Let me go ahead and do that right now. So 70.4. I got to take this track.
Sybil thinks you're schizophrenic.
Takes one to know one. Okay, so that looks good. And wait a minute. Yeah. That's all me, right?
Oh, it's always all you.
Check this. Hi, this is Al. Okay. And right here, paper cuts. Well, we're going to kind of, oh, wait, that one. I want to see that one first. Hit play. You can do that too. A couple of weeks ago on Chit Chat Across. Okay, that was that. That's why it was so loud when it came in. There was 2 of everything. It was in paper cuts. Well, we're going to kind of cleanse our palette a little bit. It's somewhere in here. Did the second. Let me make sure I'm talking about Apple in here. Why? My final test was to find out whether my having 2-factor authentication. Yeah. Okay. I put them too close together and they blended together. That's why I can't see the end of that one. So now, which one would you prefer? Yeah, it was weird. It didn't sound, but it sounded really loud. Let me hear how this sounds now.
Stay patched and stay secure.
Well, with that, we're going to wind things up. Why do you think I'm named Sybil? Yeah, I thought
Actually,
that might
that's
be
pretty good.
a leading indicator. You had no choice.
Weren't there 6 personalities with Sybil, not just 2?
It's good stuff. Good stuff. Anyway, thanks for listening and stay subscribed. All right. Yeah, Sybil, you have been such a huge addition to the show. You guys are still watching that. You're not watching me. You need to look at me. Look at me.
You're a bit blurry. Oh, there, you cleaned up.
Steve, maybe you're blurry.
No,
12?
it takes a while. Google Plus takes a while, and you have to refresh a whole lot of bits when you put on a new frame.
Oh, do you? All right. So it is time to sound. Bounce document a new file the way Dan taught me. How much does Twisted Wave cost, Kevin? Is it under $100?
Kevin is gone.
Kevin left?
I mean temporarily. Well, actually permanently for tonight.
You aren't making a lot of sense, dear.
I didn't want you to think he was gone.
I thought that you were drinking a lower alcohol beer tonight, darling.
I am.
Are you?
Lower than yours.
Oh. Yeah, mine was a little higher, wasn't it?
6%.
6?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, come on. Give me some of that barmy at 12. Let's have a conversation, right? Okay, open with a phonic leveler. It is almost time to call the show. Presets, load preset, NC, blah, 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 blah. Process all files. We are ready to go. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming. It was a lot of fun. Brett, I never said hi to you when you came into the show, but hi, Brett. Anyway, so no live show next week. Did everybody get I mean, I know that was, it's only $20 for Twisted Wave. Wow. Steve, you asked, how do you keep it together?
Well, Sybil had 16 personalities, according to John. I thought it was 6. It's 16.
Oh, wow. We should watch that tonight. Hey, did John notice your shirt?
No. Thank you, John.
Well, stand up and show your shirt.
John, I'm really surprised you didn't say anything about this.
John actually bought that shirt for Steve and sent it to him.
No, he didn't.
Oh, he didn't?
He bought the Hubble 25th anniversary shirt.
Oh, okay. That's cooler than this one. But you wore this one in honor of John.
Yes. And
hoping he would show, right?
Hoping he would show, but he didn't notice.
Now we need to, okay, John did notice. Okay, good.
Just didn't say anything.
Well, because he doesn't want to show off or anything. All right. Thank you, Sybil, for the great vacation. Oh, no, wait. We have frequent status meetings. Your other 15 friends. Denise said, have a great vacation while Sybil was being a nutcase. All right. This was a lot of fun, you guys. When I record on Thursday, it's by myself. It's super lonely. I just sit here going, and then like I did 2-factor authentication. Because something about having an audience, it makes it way more fun for me. All right. Say goodbye, Gracie.
Goodbye, Gracie.
Bye.